Hey all, No here. The conclusion to the Mr. Puzzles and Mr. Weapons team-up arc recently premiered, that being the fantastic SMG4 movie, Guns and Puzzles. Seriously, this is my favourite SMG4 movie now. This video isn't a review, so I'll keep my thoughts somewhat brief. I loved how it was an entirely character-focused story. Both main characters had great and interesting character arcs. I actually thought that a lot more of the humour landed compared to most other SMG4 episodes, and I loved that ending fight scene. Bringing back the TV dimension from the Puzzle Vision movie was insanely cool, and I'm happy that Puzzle's ability to suck people into his mind is actually being treated as something he can do instead of just being a forgotten power of his. Another thing I loved about this movie was how it had a tragic and sad ending, which was definitely something I wasn't expecting. Every recent SMG4 story has had a happy ending for the most part, so I was expecting Mr. Puzzles to finally cast aside his attachment to Leggy and to accept Weapons and Toomp as genuine friends, which would result in the movie ending with the trio having become a permanent team and family, and maybe we'd get a tease as to what their evil scheme for the What for 2025 arc may involve. And as a side note, I kind of predicted the found family theme. But instead of that happy ending, we get a tragic cliffhanger ending, where Mr. Puzzles ends up all alone in an alley after having betrayed Weapons and Toomp, and having a brutal fight against the two of them, as well as having betrayed Meggy's trust after trying to trick her into thinking he had changed for the better. All alone, Mr. Puzzles only then realises what he had just thrown away, and comes to greatly regret what he did to Weapons and Toomp. He had finally found real friends, but he had foolishly burned that bridge. Regardless, Mr. Puzzles gets up and resolves to fix everything. Meanwhile, Weapons and Toomp are on the run as they are being hunted down by the Death Cube. Unlike Mr. Puzzles, Weapons let go of his resentment towards his family and has moved on. He has embraced Toomp as his son and has learnt from his past mistakes he made with his children, which is shown in how he treats Toomp. Weapons has improved as both a person and a father, but he is still saddened by what happened between him and Puzzles. Man, this ending is so tragic. This is way sadder than when Axel died. I didn't realise how emotionally attached I was to Mr. Puzzles as a character until I watched this movie. During the last half of the movie, my adrenaline was high, as I was hoping Mr. Puzzles would make the right choice and somehow make everything right with Weapons and Toomp. But enough of my thoughts about the movie, you guys are here for the theories, so let's get into that. In my previous theory videos, I speculated that Toomp might be connected to the demonic goop, or is the demonic goop from the It's Gotta Be Perfect movie. My theory was based on Toomp's purple reddish colour, his sometimes monstrous appearance, how he is made of a goopy substance, the fact that he initially teamed up with Mr. Puzzles, which is significant because Puzzles gave the demonic keyboard to SMG4 and It's Gotta Be Perfect, and the most significant evidence for Toomp being related to the demonic goop is from the Final Step episode, when once he combines with Weapons, Toomp manifests tentacles that use the exact same model as the tentacles manifested by the demonic goop. The Guns and Puzzles movie did not confirm this theory or provide any new evidence for it, but it also gave no evidence against this theory, and we still have no origin story for Toomp. Furthermore, while we get no significant lore for Toomp, we somehow now have another character who has strange similarities to the demonic goop, that being the Death Cube. The Death Cube is another original character, with an original design, and when it opens itself up, we see that it has a fleshy and demonic looking inside that is very reminiscent of the demonic pit that now sits where Peach's castle once stood. By the way, I thought the Death Cube was a really funny addition to the movie, yet could also feel like a serious threat that raised tension. I'm a big fan. I hope they release the model alongside Toomp's model and that it reappears in the next arc. But anyways, unlike with Toomp, I'm not as convinced that the Death Cube has any connection to the demonic goop, as we do actually know part of its origin. It was created by Mr. Monitor. However, I do find it kind of suspicious that we now somehow have 2 new characters with strange similarities to this plot device for Miss Could Be Perfect. The next story arc of this year is almost certainly going to be the WPNZ 2025 arc. Modern SMG4 has seen 3 story arcs every year, the last of which always concludes with a WPNZ. Furthermore, the huge cliffhanger from Guns and Puzzles basically guarantees that the WPNZ arc will be the conclusion to this year's story about Mr. Puzzles and Mr. Weapons, which has been the focus for the whole year so far, as the 2 main story arcs we've gotten this year has centered entirely around this story. And since we've gotten no Toomp lore yet, as well as nothing to contradict the demonic goop theory, I think there's a 50-50 chance that the WPNZ 2025 arc will heavily feature the demonic goop. If it doesn't, then we're unlikely to ever get lore for Toomp or the demonic goop, as I get the impression that we are finally, after 3 whole years, reaching the conclusion to Mr. Puzzle's entire story and character arc. The SMG4 team have the opportunity to do something really special with how they could approach the finale to this story arc with Mr. Puzzles and Mr. Weapons, as they could tie it all back to where the entire Puzzle Vision saga and Mr. Puzzle's story began, at the remains of Peach's castle where the demonic pit now sits. Toomp plus the Death Cube is obviously how we connect everything back to the demonic goop. As an SMG4 theorist, if this does actually happen and we finally get an explanation for the demonic goop and how Mr. Puzzles got his hands on the mysterious keyboard, I would just be like incredibly shocked and overjoyed. But moving on, the WPNZ 2025 arc really should be the final arc focused around Mr. Puzzles, so that we can finally start a completely brand new saga with an entirely new villain or antagonistic force in 2026. Even though I've been entirely content with Mr. Puzzle's return this year, I know a lot of people are getting fed up with him constantly appearing at the centre of arcs, and it would be nice to see something entirely new going into next year. Plus, once we conclude Mr. Puzzle's character journey that was set up during the prison arc, I really don't know what else you could do with Mr. Puzzles in terms of creating whole arcs centered around him. Now originally, at this part of the video, I was going to tell you about my idea for how the WPNZ 2025 arc could go and what I'd personally do to wrap up Mr. Puzzle's story for good. However, as I began writing out this idea, I ended up creating 5 whole pages of an entire fanfiction, which would have made this video really long. So my plan is to tell you my story for the WPNZ 2025 arc in my next video, sort of in the style of the Veritas arc episode 2 if anyone remembers that. But here's some teasers for what I had in mind. The demonic goop is the main antagonist, Toomp is the key to reawakening it, and there are 2 possible endings for Mr. Puzzle's character, both of which have a 50-50 chance of happening in the official WPNZ 2025 arc. The happy ending sees Mr. Puzzles successfully defeat the demonic goop, saving Toomp and re-earning the trust of Mr. Weapons. The trio then become a permanent team, a crew of side antagonists who occasionally clash with the SMG4 crew in regular, non-arc episodes, similar to the role Marty currently plays in the series. But never again are they the focus of a whole story arc, at least not for a very long time. But the second possibility, the tragic ending, sees Mr. Puzzles sacrifice himself to defeat the demonic goop. Very sad. And to be honest, I'm actually pretty worried that they might kill off Mr. Puzzles in the next arc, in the form of a heroic sacrifice. And even if it could make for the greatest possible story, I don't know if I'd want that to actually happen. After these 2 years of my channel being nothing but Mr. Puzzles, I have a strange attachment to this character. But anyways, I'm rambling. Keep a lookout for that next video of mine. I came up with a lot of fun ideas for it. Actually, before ending things off, I have one last theory about what I think will happen in the WPNZ 2025 arc. SMG3 will help Mr. Puzzles in some capacity, even if it's just as simple as giving him advice. An interesting detail from the Guns and Puzzles movie is how the scene briefly switches to SMG3's perspective after Meggy expresses her disappointment in herself for believing in Mr. Puzzles, and SMG4 comforts her, telling her that giving Mr. Puzzles a second chance didn't make her an idiot, as Puzzles is the idiot for not taking that chance. SMG3 looks mad and disappointed, which makes a lot of sense. Like Mr. Puzzles, SMG3 is a former villain. However, unlike Mr. Puzzles, SMG3 took a second chance and actually did change for the better, leaving behind his villainous ways and befriending SMG4 and the others. I think the shot of SMG3's reaction is teasing that SMG3 will play a large role in the What 2025 arc, possibly helping Mr. Puzzles finally redeem himself, just like how SMG4 helped SMG3 redeem himself. Okay, but that's seriously all from me for now.